No, so this is all county road we're on right now. Yeah, once we're gonna go through a little gate back here, and then it's all private property from there on down. Something like that. Something like that. No, unfortunately, a lot of the private property areas around here, a lot of the really secluded spots on private property got put into a book. So I want you to imagine, instead of sheetrock walls and popcorn ceilings, I want you to imagine like nice rows of hedges that make your walls. And then have you guys all seen those big tall trees that look like big umbrellas? The big wide ones? We call those monkey pod trees. Those are the ceilings. What's that? Monkey pod, Albizia samon, the monkey pod. Those are the ceilings. So we're creating the boundaries with nature. And they built this 80-acre estate full of outdoor garden rooms. This is where they'd spend their time. Have big parties. Sometimes the parties they throw, they were costume parties. And if you showed up not wearing a costume, they would send you down to their house, and they had 500 costumes in a wardrobe. You got to pick one and come back and join the party. Very unique gentlemen. One was an artist, one was an architect, and it was Robert Allerton, his companion, his partner John. We're going to go explore their backyard a little bit today. Of course, anybody here come just to see the Jurassic Park trees? You did? Oh man, it's going to be a long 2 hours for you. Got to put up with me just to go see a tree. The Jurassic Park trees, the Morton Bay figs, in the ficus family, closely related to these two trees on either side of the bus. This is what we call Chinese strangler figs. How many of you folks have been to Maui before? Did you go downtown Lahaina, see the big banyan tree?
Yes.
Yeah, you climbed it. So those trees, the way they spread is super cool. You guys see all these vines hanging down? So these are the beginnings of an aerial root system. So these vines dangle down. In fact, look at these ones right on the door. You can see how the red tips there, those are what are searching for soil and moisture. Once those touch the ground, they'll grow into a whole new trunk of the tree. You can see this big branch going off to the right of us. You can see where it's just got three little couple inch diameter stilts holding it up. Those little aerial roots. That's how the one in Maui has taken up an entire square city block. Or if you were to go to India, the southern tip of India, there is a banyan tree that's about 2.5 square miles wide. Square mile, that's a huge tree. One tree just keeps sending down those little aerial roots. And here, they've just been coming down this gap. Dynamited these rocks open in 1901 to make a railroad. And they've just been kind of weaving themselves over here over the years. Real quick, up on the right here, this is another example of how quickly things grow. Any doctors on board? We have a doctor. What sort of practice? You were orthopedics. So, did you have, you had your own practice? Yes. And did you have a waiting room in your clinic? You had a reception area. I was going to say, in your reception area, did you happen to have one of these split-leaf philodendrons? Because most of us will recognize that from every single doctor's office's waiting room we've ever sat in in our entire life. This started off as one plant in a 5-gallon pot set on the hillside and allowed to keep growing and reproducing over the last 70 years. Now taking over the whole hillside. No, it is not native. Unfortunately, here in Hawaii, 95% of all the plant life you see doesn't belong here. It was brought by modern man. Only 5% are what we consider native plants and what we call canoe plants, things the Polynesians brought with them. That actually brings up a really good point as to kind of what this place is all about. How many of you came here to see pretty stuff? That's what most of us come here for. Who came here for the advanced dissertation on botany? All right, so we have one. So now I'm going to have to talk like a botanist. Everything will be in Latin. And then when we're done, I'll wake the rest of you up. I'll keep it light. But I will say that this whole organization, what we do here, we're the only federally chartered research botanical garden. that studies tropical plants in the entire United States. We're the ones you see in like National Geographic, rappelling down cliffs, taking helicopters up in the middle of nowhere. And we're looking for plant life, rare plant life, new plant life. If we have to hand pollinate them using paintbrushes, we will. Once we find these rare plants, we bring them back and we study them. Tropicals from all around the world. Essentially, guys and gals, we're in the business of preventing extinction. Without plants, we're not going to make it very far. Case in point, how many of you like breathing air?
Details.
Only 2 of you. All right, you don't need any plants. Well, look into the right. This nursery, 150,000 plants in that nursery. The majority of them are what we consider potentially extinct. A potentially extinct plant here in Hawaii is any plant that has less than 50 individuals known to exist, 50. Some of the plants in that garden, there's 1 left. We know where it is. It's hanging off of a cliff. There's a cage built around it. There's a GPS tag, and we use drones to fly out and check on them. But before they go extinct, we collect as much of the DNA, as many gene pools as we can, and then we put them up in a seed bank. Currently 3.5 million seeds to make sure these things don't go extinct. We're a bunch of tree huggers, making sure the world's a good place. We're going to enter into what we call our Allerton Garden here. McBride is where we do all the research stuff, where our self-guided tour goes through. So we'll kind of tool around in this area, learn a little about history, kind of see some pretty things. I will say, real quick, I want everyone to look to the right of us. You guys see that beautiful porta potty right there? Yeah, I want you guys to ignore that. That's a terrible lawn decoration. Past the porta potty, on that grassy area to the right, we've got proper restrooms, women on the right, men on the left, water fountain, little koi pond, and I'm going to meet you folks all right over there. Anything we brought with us, let's go ahead and take it with us. This will be used as a shuttle a little later on for other people. So we'll meet you right out there on the green grassy area in the middle.
No, first of all, don't you wish like David Attenborough narrated your life?
Yeah.
You could do the most mundane thing and he'd be like, this morning Mary made pancakes. And you're like, ooh, Mary's exciting. Have you ever seen Planet Earth 2? Yeah. So then you've seen this. First episode of Planet Earth 2, they go to Madagascar. And there are lemurs jumping all in these trees and they're eating the little leaves off the end. Little monkey-like lemurs. Mama's got baby strapped to her back. She runs, jumps, grabs onto that thing, crawls all over it, doesn't hurt her one bit. The shining example of a defense mechanism. Alawadia procera, they call that. Spikes are a good example. Now, what's another example of a defense mechanism you guys can think of? Something that would keep you from messing with a plant.
Poison.
Colors can be, absolutely. Poison. So this guy here, call this Pachypodium. Pachypodium. Anyone recognize the name Pachy? Yeah. Not gonna have jellyfish or hippos or rhinos. It's kind of got a big, thick skin. Yeah, they call this Pachypodium because it looks like an elephant's foot. Commonly called an elephant's foot. So covered in spikes, also toxic. Poison is a very good example of a defense mechanism, but there's one that's even more common. If I handed you all something and I said, hey, eat this, before you took a big old bite, what would you probably do first? Smell it. My last group, everybody said wash it. And I thought, man, y'all got real good hygiene. Like, forget smelling it, forget making sure it's not poisonous, we're just gonna wash it. Yeah, so smell. Next time you see a herd of deer walking around, little sleuth.
There's only 3 of them in the entire.
That was a reference that only one of you will get. Yeah, there are only 3 of them in the entire garden. So yeah, the trees that are cracking that fountain, you see them right now. The Morton Bay figs, these big root systems. Yeah, it's fig. Look on the ground, you can see the figs everywhere. Look at this, they've been falling over the last couple of days, so it's just everywhere. Not like the delicious fig. These are woody and terrible. Number one question I get about everything in this garden, people go, well, is it edible? First of all, everything's edible once. And secondly, most things are edible multiple times, but they're edible in the sense that like Xerox paper and boogers are also edible. You can, but it's not recommended. Yeah, they don't taste good at all. But ladies and gentlemen, the famous Jurassic Park tree. Spielberg shot for about 4 weeks in this area. A couple of scenes we'll recognize. How many of us remember Jurassic Park pretty well? End of the movie. Remember Laura Dern's character? She's got to go turn the power back on. Velociraptors come out down in the building. She runs out the top of the door, closes the door behind her, and she's standing there. And across the field, she can see Dr. Grant coming toward her, and she yells to herself. She goes, "Run!" And then she books it across the field. Well, that was that field right behind you there. I just watched it last night, and I was like, that's work. The other scene you'll recognize, and the cool thing is, it's recognizable, but the trees are so much bigger now than they were back when they filmed the movie. Dr. Grant and the kids, they sleep up in a tree overnight. There's a big brachiosaurus. The next morning, they climb down from the tree. The camera pans along here. Little Timmy and Dr. Grant are walking along. Dr. Grant walks over all these roots, steps up onto here, jumps over, and then disappears underneath. And as the camera pans around, this was where they find the dinosaur attached. 2 little kids are looking over here, and he smiles and he goes, life found a way. The dinosaurs learned to breathe. This is where the dinosaur eggs were hatching. Funny thing is, in the movie, this branch doesn't even exist. He walks straight through, jumps over this. I had to rewind it last night. I went, wait a minute. These things will send off new little, you can see how they kind of shoot off. And they'll just grow into whole new things. So.